Welcome to today's episode of the Sports Generals. It is NFL schedule release day, and as you can see, I am outside here on my screened-in porch, but I'm not alone, as we have my fellow Sports General, Mr. Brian Fraley. He's
What's up,
here.
buddy?
How you doing?
Doing good, man. It's beautiful outside. Just got in from walking the dog, so.
Yeah. I figured with it being so beautiful, instead of doing the show in my usual recording studio, I would do it on my screened-in porch.
Yeah, if I had somewhere I could do it outside, I definitely would. But
yeah.
Unfortunately, I live by a major busy road, so.
Oh, sorry to hear that, man.
That's okay. I've got a nice little setup back there, but it's just not very quiet.
That's all right. Well, we are here for today's episode of the Sports Generals. Jason hopefully will be joining us shortly. But in the meantime, we will get to NFL schedule release stuff because I am super excited about that.
Yeah, I just read your article on Dog Pound Daily, right?
No.
Or what? Which one did you post it on? I know I read it. I just can't remember where I read it. You write on so many different platforms.
It's a website similar to the one James does, but it's called Believeland LLC Media.
Okay. Yeah, because I was going to pull that up when I was doing my prep work so I could have it in front of me. And I was looking on Dog Pound Daily and didn't see it. That's why.
No. I write for Fansite. I write for King James Gospel and Dog Pound Daily. Those are pages under Fansided.
Right.
And then separately, I write for a website called Believeland Media LLC.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to write that in my notes so I can keep it all straight. You're a man that wears many, many hats.
I apologize for causing the confusion, Brian.
Oh, no, don't apologize for being such a prolific writer.
Anyway, but before we get to NFL schedule release and NBA stuff, what did you think of Tom Brady signing that massive deal to become the lead analyst of Fox when he retires?
I mean, it's about time that guy caught a break, huh? I mean, nothing ever goes Tom Brady's way. So good to see him finally get a break financially because, yeah, he definitely needed it. Psych. No, it's I don't know. It doesn't surprise me. It's like Tom Brady is just like this mythical creature. Like he's bigger than life, and he's the greatest football player of our generation, hands down. Many think he's the greatest of all time. So it makes a lot of sense. You know, you want to bring that guy in and have his mind be a part of your, football operations. So I think it's a smart hire. I don't know if anybody in the world is worth $375 million, but I guess if you're going to give it to anybody, give it to Tom.
Right. So when this piece of news was announced, many people went into this like, oh, is this his retirement tour? How much longer is he going to be playing?
Right.
I don't think like him agreeing to this deal means he's going to retire anytime soon. Do you?
Mel, from what I understand, it goes into effect as soon as he retires. So it's not really, there's no timetable on it. So to me, it's like, I don't think it's necessarily a sign that this is his last season. It very well could be. I know that if I was playing and I was, facing 325-pound defensive linemen that are trying to murder me, $375 million to sit behind a microphone and a television camera sounds a lot better to me. So if anything, it might incentivize Tom to retire a little earlier than he had planned on. But I agree with you. I don't think that the writing is necessarily on the wall that this is his last season.
Right. Didn't he lead the league in passing yards last season?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Let me double check that. I want to say Herbert was up there too. He threw for a ton of yards.
I think Jason is on now.
What up, Jay?
What's up, guys?
Yeah, Josh, you're right. He had 5,316 yards last year. He led Justin Herbert by 302 yards. So, yeah, he led the NFL in passing yards by a margin of 300 yards. It's like an entire extra game.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I'm assuming what your point is that like why would he retire if he's still playing so well? You know, if he,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah. If you're as productive as he is, and you are somebody like Tom says he is, that's like super motivated by winning, and you love competition, and it sounds to me like maybe it's not necessarily the money that Tom's motivated by. Like the money's
Yeah.
obviously awesome, but let's face it, like he could walk away today and go sit behind a booth, but he's not going to. Like he's choosing to play this year.
Right.
So
My
to
only
me, that says that he wants to play as long as he's going to be competitive. Like I think that he really believes he can win another Super Bowl. So
yeah. My only criticism or my only like issue with this, if you will, is like you don't want the main commentator, I think it's Kevin Burkhardt, if I remember correctly, something like that, to be waiting like 10 years or whatever. So like I feel like there is a bit of a timestamp. Maybe I don't know if that's necessarily the right word.
I hear what you're saying, but I think that when it comes to choosing between him and Tom, they're going to choose Tom every time. So I don't think that that's going to affect anything really.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you want to be considerate of other people, but like I don't think that necessarily matters.
Yeah. You got any thoughts on this, Jay?
Yeah, I think that I'm not sure if you guys could see me right now.
No.
Yeah, I'm having some internet issues, but I think that this is a great move for CBS in general. I mean, for Fox, because you locked him down for 10 years, and he is probably the greatest to ever do commentary talk or just be an analyst in general. So locking him down, they pay whatever they had to pay. They're going to get competitors like Amazon, ESPN, just to name a few, and they lock their guy down. So it's a win-win for them, but that is a lot of cash to throw at him for sure.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder what a guy like Peyton Manning's thinking right now.
Yeah.
He does the Manning cast and all that other stuff with ESPN. I don't think they've ever offered him that kind of money. You know what I mean? Like, it makes me wonder if he's going to start looking like, okay, if Tom's making this much to do it, why am I only making this much? Like, I think it's going to cause like almost like we see the race for like the highest paid player in the NFL. How every year it gets outdone. I think we're going to start seeing it with analysts. Like Tom's kind of laid it out for people. Like you can make hundreds of millions of dollars being an analyst. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I see a lot of other people are going to probably benefit from it. But the one unfortunate thing I see happening here is it seems like the direction most places are going is the only analysts they want are former players. And I mean, I understand that. Like, obviously, former players have a unique experience and perspective on the game. But you still want to see other people get a chance too. There's people that are great analysts that didn't play ever, or couldn't play for physical limitations or whatever, and they're just as good students of the game as Tom. They just never played. So that's the one concern I have about this, just like in our field in general. You know what I mean? Like I hope this doesn't dissuade like other people that are non-players from like getting jobs in the future.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. This move by Fox kind of feels similar to what CBS did by bringing on Tony Romo to pair with Jim Nantz to be their main analyst, because Romo is a former quarterback, so he sees the game from a different perspective, much like what you were saying, Brian. But like Tom's gonna be able to bring that to the game. Like as soon as like the teams line up, he's gonna be like, "Yep, the offense is running this play and the defense is running this play." I mean, some fans aren't necessarily going to like that because they're just like, I want to be able to like see the play, for better terms or not, play out. But
yeah, but it gives the fans a good experience. Just being able to see what's the thought process that goes into a quarterback making his pre-reads. What do he see in the secondary stuff that me and you may not pick out immediately, but he can go ahead and just emphasize, just similar to what
Romo.
Saints. Yeah. Well, Romo, absolutely. I think Romo is Drew Brees. Romo is one of the best, in my opinion. It's like just a color analyst,
Hmm.
his insight, and I don't know, Jim. I think they may be short. It's a little twerks that he do that's kind of funny to me. But Drew Brees, he definitely brings like a certain insight. And who's to say that the GOAT won't bring the same thing to the table?
Right.
There are some athletes though that just don't do well in the booth.
You know who don't? Booger. Booger from you. Oh, he's terrible.
Poor
He do
Booger.
stuff like, he says some of the most like things that we already know. Like if you run the ball for 5 yards and you don't get the first, you got 5 more yards. It's like,
Right,
okay,
right. The
Booger, you didn't
obvious
really
stuff.
teach us nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
The team that scores the most points tonight is going to win the game.
So it's like Kenny Anderson in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah.
I mean, Gene Smith.
Sure.
You know what's interesting is like we talk about all the player movement and stuff that happened in the offseason. There was a lot of broadcaster and commentator movement. Like you had ESPN poaching Joe Buck and Troy Aikman away from Fox.
Mm-hmm.
Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit are now going to be doing Thursday Night Football for Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon's starting to take over. And they offered Sean McVay when he was like teetering, retiring, and not. I thought they was going to throw about $100 million at him to be an analyst. So Amazon's they about to be a big player.
Yeah.
I know these streaming platforms need to step their game up with their analysts because I watch a lot of baseball, and Apple TV's coverage of baseball, they signed a big deal with MLB. Bad. Like their commentators are horrible. Like they just do not understand the game. Like it's just like they seem really out of place. So yeah, it's good that places like Amazon are getting like some real talent in there, And I mean, Al Michaels and Herbstreit, it's two of the greatest to ever do it in the booth. You know what I mean? Like those guys are awesome. So I think that's a really good hire by Amazon, and hopefully that these other streaming platforms like Hulu and Apple and all these other ones, they see that like, yeah, people do care about the quality of the analysis during the game. You don't want to watch a game where you listen to a guy that doesn't know what he's talking about. It's not entertaining.
Right. Absolutely.
No, like you want to watch the game because you're interested in the game, but also you want to learn something from the game. And if you don't have good commentators or good analysts, you're not going to do that.
Like made me a better student of the game. So I need a teacher. But somebody that has some type of humor and has that it factor, man. That's what I'm looking for.
Right. Like make me a bigger fan, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good point. Yeah, that's what you want from analysts. You want people to make people who maybe not understand the game or are new to the game fall in love with it, And the only way to do that is like if you break it down in a way that's entertaining. So we don't necessarily know if Tom's going to be able to do that or not. We do know for one thing for sure, he's going to be able to break down like the pre-play. He's going to know all that stuff. He's going to know what the defense is. He's going to know what play they're running. But is he going to be able to do it in a way that relates to people who are watching on TV? Like that remains to be seen. I've never heard Tom Brady call a football game. So that'll be interesting because like that's one thing that some guys just can't connect with the fans, and
yeah,
he's starting to.
Yeah, hopefully for Tom's case, he'll be able to. He's been a guy that's always been really vanilla. He never really says anything too outlandish or exciting. He chooses his words carefully, I guess is what I'm saying, Tom. And when you're a guy like that can be kind of boring from an analysis standpoint. Like, is he going to be willing to say, like, I disagree with what coach so-and-so is doing? Is he going to be able to watch a Patriots game and give an honest assessment of Bill Belichick? You know what I mean? Or is it going to be, well, he's part of the club and, we don't know if he's going to be willing to do those things yet or not. So it's a lot of money to give a guy that you've never heard before is basically what I'm saying.
Right. I feel that same way based on what you were saying in that last part about like if he were to do Patriots games. I feel that same way when Tony Romo is doing Cowboys games or Troy Aikman is doing Cowboys games. I'm just like, well, I get it. You're former Cowboys, so you're going to be more biased towards the Cowboys, but come on, like,
But
Yeah,
Kirk Herbstreit, I would think he'd never even went to Ohio State the way he's critical with them. So
Kirk's really good about
oh my
being
gosh,
critical of his team. Yeah, he's not
Regardless.
somebody that homers very often.
right?
his
That's
name.
what
Still
I'm
does
saying.
from
I
time
want
to
more
time,
of
but
that.
yeah, he's definitely willing to be critical of the organization and whatnot. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Tom's as willing to put himself out there like that, because Herbstreit ruffles a lot of feathers in Columbus. You know, he rubs a lot of
Mhm.
people the wrong way with the way he covers the Buckeyes. And but personally, I think he's the best in the business in college football. Like, I love watching Kirk, and
I
I'm a
question his
Michigan guy.
fandom.
Yeah, I just know, like, as a Michigan guy, like, I hear him talk about Ohio State, and I'm like, okay, like, that's actually a realistic point of view. You know, I don't hear him, glorifying guys that don't deserve it or
Mhm.
deifying coaches who aren't necessarily as worthy of the praise. Like, he gives a
Sure.
very honest opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
You
appreciate
do.
that.
You do.
And you're worried that Brady's going to do that when he does Patriots games and now Buccaneers games.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned just because he's never showed me that, like, he's willing to do that. You know what I mean? Like, even with the man in the arena stuff, like, he's still very close to the vest with what he says.
It seemed like everything's scripted. Yeah.
Everything's very tightly scripted. That's my concern with Tom. Is he going to be willing to go off script and just have fun? You know what I mean? Because he might suck at it, guys. Like, I hate to say it. I love
true.
Tom. I'm the biggest Tom Brady stan in the world. He's a Michigan quarterback. Like, I loved him since day one. I was a big fan when he was taken at 199 in the draft. Didn't know he was going to be worth a damn or not, but I'm a lifelong Tom Brady fan. But I could be honest and say, you know what? He doesn't really entertain me off the field. You know, I've never been like, man in the arena was really cool. I think it was well produced, but like, he didn't excite me or like entertain me beyond like any other normal ESPN thing.
Starting to be a
If that
TikTok
makes sense.
fan.
You know what I mean? Like, I just don't see that like charisma off the field from Tom in that way.
He's starting
Right.
to connect with the TikTok audience.
Yeah, the younger audience might look at Tom and just be like, man, this guy's boring as shit.
This old dude. Get this old dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the other criticism of Tom too, is, like, his politics. You know, he's been involved with Donald Trump, and obviously he's had ties to the Republican Party and whatnot, and Fox being a right-leaning organization. It's like, oh, of course they're gonna pick Tom.
Mhm.
So is Tom just gonna be a guy that increases that echo chamber, or is he gonna be a guy that's like a breath of fresh air for Fox? Like.
Mhm.
That remains to be seen. Like, he could be a total stiff.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions that need to be answered. But, Jay, I asked Brian this earlier, but I want to get your opinion on it also. As a result of Brady signing this deal, do you think, like, people are tagging this as his retirement tour, his swan song, whatever the phrase is these days? Do you view it as that, or do you think it's just like, he has a couple more years?
I think honestly, like just from the eye test alone, I would think he has realistically probably 2 more years left. But he's always put the carrot in front of us and then yanked it away like he did this previous season.
Mm-hmm.
And you never know with him. Like I might like kind of similar to what Brett Favre was doing. I might come back. I might retire. I don't know. But I think honestly, he probably has about 2 more years because I would think he would want to go out like how each team you play against have a gift for him and do the proper recognition to him on the scoreboard or whatever. He's deserving of it, and I would think he would want those accolades. But
Yeah.
I don't think this is gonna. I think this is not gonna have any type of correlation with him retiring or deciding to come back because I'm sure that's tied into his contract.
That's funny. You said the exact same thing I said when Josh asked me the question. So we're all on like the same page with that, it sounds like.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. For once, we're all on the same page.
I know.
That's scary.
That's
scary.
really scary.
Right.
All right. Well, it is NFL schedule release day. I am super excited about it because analyzing schedules is one of my favorite parts of sports. So, because of that, I decided to make my own schedule for the Browns. I don't know how close I'm actually going to be to the real schedule, but I just thought it would be fun. So I don't know if you guys want to predict the record based on the schedule, or if you want to just give thoughts on like the schedule I made. However, whatever you guys want to do is cool with me.
Yeah, why don't you just go through it like real quick? Just rattle them off real quick so everybody knows, and then we'll go from there.
Yep.
Okay. So week 1 at the Miami Dolphins. Week 2, home opener against the New York Jets. Week 3, home against the New Orleans Saints. Week 4 at Baltimore. Week 5 at Pittsburgh. Week 6, home against Tampa Bay on Monday Night Football. Week 7 at Carolina. Week 8 at Cincinnati. Week 9 at Buffalo on Sunday Night Football. Week 10, bye week. Week 11, home against Pittsburgh. Week 12, home against New England. Week 13, home against Baltimore. Week 14 at Houston. Week 15, home against the LA Chargers on Sunday Night Football. Week 16 at the Washington Commanders. Week 17 at the Atlanta Falcons. And to close out the season, in Week 18, just like we did last year, home against Cincinnati.
Okay. Well, we know one thing for sure. You got all the teams, right? We know who the opponents are going to be no matter what.
Yes.
We just don't necessarily know the order that they're happening in. My one immediate critique for yours would be I just think that, what was it, week 4 or week 5, you had the first divisional game. I think that's a little late. I think a divisional opponent will occur in the first 4 weeks for sure. Probably week 2, week 3, if I had to guess. So that's my only real critique with the schedule and what I think it might be wrong about it. But yeah, that's my initial thoughts. What about you, Jay?
Yeah, I love it, man. You actually should. I think I vote that you be the schedule coordinator, because
Yay!
that would be a fascinating schedule for one. Those are the excellent primetime games, because those are games I'm sure everybody in America wants to see. Similar to what you said, Brian, probably one of the interconference games, probably like week 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah.
But other than that, man, that's pretty accurate right there, man. Good job.
The first divisional game I had was week 4 at Baltimore. So
you get them out the way.
That's just a little late. That was my only critique. Maybe bump that up to 3 or something.
Yeah.
Let's get them out the way.
So the reason I had week 1 being at Miami is because this just feels like an NFL type move, because given the insanity of this offseason and teams making moves left and right and giving players crazy new contracts, 2 of the biggest moves were the Dolphins trading for Tyreek Hill and the Browns trading for Deshaun Watson. So as a result, my brain was like, okay, let's put these 2 moves against each other right away and put them on display in like a high-profile matchup.
Yeah, I thought that rationale makes total sense to me. And then for what it's worth, my Twitter handle is right here. I retweeted what is the supposed leaked NFL schedule for the Browns. We don't know. I mean, we don't know for sure if it is or not, but it sounds like this might be the actual schedule. So if anybody wants to go take a peek at that one, just go to my Twitter page and you will see it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have us opening the season at Carolina, Josh. What are your thoughts on that?
That would be interesting.
Man, that could be our first one. We haven't won the opener in what, 20-some years?
Something like that.
We could absolutely win that.
I love that running back matchup. I think early in the season we'll probably be facing a Deshaun Watson suspension of some kind. So game 1, we're really going to want to pound the rock, I think.
You know what?
So that matchup excites me. The Nick Chubb, versus Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fun first week matchup if that's the case. So if it ends up being that instead of Miami, it's still fun in its own way.
I actually had an epiphany too about that. So they're saying that, of course, Deshaun Watson is going to decide, like he's going to go against each individual trial of the 22, which that right there, that's going to be timing it's going to be crazy. The league said that they're not going to make any decisions until they have an answer on what's going to happen in these individual court cases. So I'm starting to believe that it's probably possible he may not get suspended this season, but next season.
Yeah,
Because of that.
I have heard that same thing, that if he does get suspended, they wouldn't do it till next year when his real money kicks in.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the Browns trying to be too slick with the way they detailed his contract. So they're like, y'all, we gonna pop you guys.
Yeah, they were trying to finesse the league there, and I don't think the league appreciated it. And I think that that's probably the way it's going to be. That I just, you know what I mean? That's bad.
I mean, he didn't get suspended last season. He technically could have played all of those games, but
the Texans said, "Yeah, you see that spot on the bench? Go warm it up for us,
and we'll pay you."
Let me ask you guys this though: like, do you think that the Deshaun might get a shorter suspension than he would have had the Texans not chose to hold him out for an entire season? Because in a way, they kept him from playing an entire season. They internally suspended him essentially.
That's in the jail or the legal world, some judges will say that's time served.
Time served, yeah.
And I'm with you on that. But the only reason I started to change my thought process was because they want to send a message.
Oh,
and
yeah.
still is all about the shield and the integrity of the shield, and we're still going to make an example out of him. But I would think that because he has really been suspended for a year, self-imposed, they would take that into consideration. But I don't know. If I had to guess or bet, I think he's probably still going to end up getting 6 games, probably. But it might not be until next year.
Yeah, this is such a weird subject. I personally think with this type of case, he should be suspended for the whole year because, like, domestic violence, sexual assault is such a big issue. So even though he's our quarterback, I have to.
Yeah, absolutely. We want justice to be served wherever it is deserved. We don't know what's the truth. The only people that know the truth are him and his accusers.
Right.
And at the end of the day, as a show, if he did anything that he was accused of, then yeah, absolutely bad guy. Hope he's punished thoroughly. But all of the legal cases, the criminal cases were all dropped. So he hasn't been found criminally guilty of anything, and he won't.
I understand that.
Right. So if the civil suits go forward and there's no settlement and he's cleared, then in my opinion, I think a year would be too long. But that remains to be seen. But if even one of those civil cases, though, he settles, meaning he'd be admitting some sort of guilt and trying to settle it outside of court, to me, that's an admission of guilt. Then suspend him for the entire year.
And he's always on record as saying he's not going to settle any of those cases.
Right. So but I mean, if he maintains his innocence and they find him criminally not guilty and civilly not liable, then, who am I to say, sit the guy out for a year? You know what I mean? That doesn't feel right to me if he's already sat out a year.
Guys, and understand, I really want to put this in perspective for the viewers at home. That's 22 separate cases. If you are not familiar with the legal world, one case that can be a potential 6 months to a year in itself. We're talking about 22 separate ones. So it's going to be a long time. And the league is they got a lot of work cut out for them to try to hurry up and get this out the butt. I think that if they would have went ahead, suspended him officially last year, got that out the way, then they wouldn't have this cloud hanging over their head because they have to respond to it. So
I understand that. If the if the civil cases come back and he's not guilty on any of them, I agree he should not be suspended for the year. I would still suspend him like 6 to 8 games.
I agree. I think that'd be fair.
Yeah, but
here's the reality: MLB just had a not exactly similar case with Trevor Bauer, and
explain this. Yeah.
He got suspended for 2 years. So, and I don't think he's ever going to play again. So he basically got blacklisted. But it's a different case that, like we said, with Deshaun, he hasn't been found guilty of anything, So with Trevor, there's, some accusations. There seems to be some substance to. So they dropped the hammer on him, So if like I said, if he's guilty of even one of these civil suits, I think that they should match that, honestly, suspend them 2 years, you know what I mean? But I don't know. For now, it seems like, if not even one of those cases could be prosecuted criminally, it seems that there's a very likely possibility he might, be found not guilty. So it's just a wait and see thing for us,
Yeah.
And all the criminal charges was dropped, so.
Yeah, but in terms of this season, like when we look at the schedule and try to pick a win-loss record, it's almost impossible to do it now until we know what the suspension is.
But you know what? Just walk with me on this. Yes and no. The reason I'm going to say no is because, okay, we have a capable backup. We still got the same team, same pieces in place. The problem we had with Baker was the turnovers and him setting us back, right? But we got people where it's like Jacoby Brissett. We could go even with that, right? So let's say he suspended 8 games. I think we could win about 5 out of those 8, probably. That might be a reach, but
I definitely think we can win games with Brissett. I just think it's far more likely we win games with Deshaun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so like I still wouldn't. I'm not saying I'd pick the Browns to go 0-17 if he's suspended for the season, but I think that you have to consider Deshaun being good for 2 or 3 more wins, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, that's the difference between the Browns maybe being a wild card team or the Browns winning the division. You know what I mean? So pretty big gap between the two, in my opinion.
And
he's a capable backup. I love that Brissett's his backup. There's not many backups in the league that do it better than Brissett. So
smart and capable.
Mm-hmm.
And I made this schedule as if Deshaun was not going to be suspended this year. Obviously, like we said, that could very well change.
Mm-hmm.
But if let's say he doesn't get suspended, oh God, I really hope that Buffalo game is in prime time. Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson, possible AFC Championship game preview, maybe.
We playing them in Buffalo or here?
Yeah, Buffalo.
Mm-hmm. At Buffalo.
Yeah, it's at Buffalo. But could you imagine if that game is in prime time?
And if it's snowing. That'd be amazing.
As long as Deshaun Watson doesn't throw the ball 3 times.
Right. But hey, we got RPO the hell out of them. I'm not that much. So, hey, Hunt or Chubb or me, it really don't matter. But they're gonna have some issues dealing with this offense for sure.
Yeah. I don't know what I would say. I'm leaning like 11-6 for this Browns team if Deshaun's not suspended for the year. And I would say probably unfortunately, 9-8, 10-7 if he is suspended.
If he's not, 13-4. You heard it here first. 13-4. And we're going to drop 2 games that no one would even expect us to drop against a bum team, like potentially Houston, so something like that. It's going to be an off team that we lose to. But I think we're going to be in good shape. I really see that.
Yeah. The AFC is going to be loaded this year. So there's going to be a team that gets left out of the playoffs that's like, how did this team with this offense or this quarterback get left out of the party? Like, let's say, for example, the Raiders miss the playoffs. Like, it's going to be like, okay, so you have Devontae, you have Darren Waller, you have Hunter Renfrow, you have Josh Jacobs, even though they declined his fifth-year option. You have Derek Carr as your quarterback, and yet you miss the playoffs.
Or like if Denver does with Russell Wilson, like, yeah. There's going to be a team with an elite quarterback left out of the playoffs from the AFC.
It happens every year. Like half the teams that make the playoffs won't make it the following year. It's a weird stat, but like for the last 30 years, half the teams won't make it, and there's going to be new teams that's going to come in and take those spots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing though is like it's not, like I said, it's not even just the quarterbacks. Like, let's say Miami misses the playoffs. Well, okay, you went out and got Tyreek Hill and you paired him with Jalen Waddle, and Miami has one of the more underrated defenses in the league. I wouldn't say they're one of the best, but I think they play well. But people don't seem to talk about them, so I think they're an underrated unit. Like, if the Dolphins miss the playoffs, I think that would be surprising to people, would it not?
Not to me, because they didn't make the playoffs last year, and they got a rookie coach. They got a new system that they're implementing. I don't think it would be that big of a shock like it would if Denver missed it. If Denver missed it, that's like a whoa. How the hell did that happen? If you got Russell Wilson, you got all of these ingredients. You guys did all the spending on free agency. Yes, you have a new coach, but you pretty much got the base of that team still in place. And I think that would be very shocking if they don't make it versus like the Dolphins.
Yeah, but my counter argument to that would be like, yeah, Miami hired a new head coach, but they still have Tua, which I'm not totally sold on Tua by any stretch. I'm on the fence. Like I said, they had Jalen Waddle. They have a very good tight end in Mike Gesicki. And then they brought in Tyreek Hill. So, but you're right about the new head coach, the new offensive system. But I could use that same argument for Denver because the Broncos brought in Russell Wilson, so a new quarterback. They brought in Nathaniel Hackett, new head coach. So Wilson and Hackett are going to have to learn each other's strengths and weaknesses, and they're going to have to develop a new system. So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but what my rebuttal to that would be is they already had Cortland Sutton, Tim White. They already got their wide receiving core, and then Judy. They got that part still consistent. Their run game's really starting to catch on at the end of the season. That running back they had last year was a rookie. This year's second year, he was starting to pick up. I think he's like 5 to 6 yards after contact, which is like top 3 in the NFL. Then you have Russell Wilson, again, a perennial, a future Battle Hall of Famer, that is. Yes, Hackett, he was a rookie coach, but he also was the quarterback's coach for Aaron Rodgers. And, I think he knows how to kind of tinker with skill sets when it comes to quarterbacks. But with the Dolphins, Dolphins they're good and they're on the rise. But if they have the speedster, Tyreek Hill, and you got Tua, whose his power strength is subpar. He could probably throw about 40 yards, 50 yards, but you can't really utilize Tyreek. Tyreek need a bomb where he has to run up, and which he got the speed to. But Tua, he can't really wing the ball that far.
Right. He's not Mahomes.
Hell no. Yeah. So it's going to be a challenge with that, I think.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of the Tennessee Titans because now they traded A.J. Brown. They go out, draft Malik Willis, and, Ryan Tannehill is out saying, like, it's not my job to mentor him. And,
right.
You have Indianapolis. They're bringing back a lot of the same guys they had last year.
They're a team to watch.
Huh?
They're a team to watch because they got Matt Ryan.
Exactly. That's what I was just going to say. I think the Colts are going to overtake the Titans in the AFC South this year.
I'm with you. I agree.
I I think it's going to be close. I still really like the Titans. I think that they got a guy in Traylon Burks that's very similar to A.J. Brown. And then I also like the fact that they got Willis, with a chance to grow and progress over the next, year or two behind Tannehill. And then they drafted Hassan Haskins in the 4th round. So that duo of Derrick Henry and Hassan Haskins, 2 power backs, that's going to be brutal for teams going up against them. So they still got some pieces that really excite me in Tennessee. But you guys are right. The Colts are right there with them. They've got some real nice pieces there.
Yeah.
Taylor, they got that defense. They got everything, and they got Matt Ryan, a veteran that's not going to make those bonehead decisions.
Yeah, like Matt Ryan's a much better quarterback than 2 screens Carson Wentz.
Yeah. Carson Wentz actually, now this season, it just so happens, obviously he's going to play Philly because he's in the NFC East, but he's also going to play at Indianapolis this season. So,
and while he's going to get that victory.
So, when he goes back to Philly, what type of reception do you think he's going to get? Do you think it's going to be like cheers? Do you think it's like Philly's going to live up to their reputation of being
that one?
Yeah, I'm with you. They boo Santa Claus.
Yeah,
any individual living.
Yep. Anybody former, they don't care. They're going to go.
And they clapped when Michael Irvin almost had a neck injury, right?
Yeah. Their fan base is wild.
Barbarians.
They're wild.
Yeah. You don't
I'll tell you what, though, Jordan Davis might eat him alive.
You don't think it depends on what time the game is at in Philly? Like if it's a 1:00 game or like a prime time game? Because if it's a prime time game, oh boy, I totally agree with you times 100 that if it's like a Sunday night football game, Monday night, Thursday night, that crowd is going to just destroy him and eat him alive.
I mean, they destroy Santa Claus Christmas Eve. Anything's possible with those guys.
I think it's going to be crazy no matter what. They were 9-8 last season, 9-8, and they got better in the offseason, in my opinion. Jordan Davis is a freak. Nakobe Dean is a freak.
I wanted the Browns to draft Nakobe Dean.
So did I, man. He is a stud. Like, they got some really nice pieces in the draft. Jalen Hurts is only getting better. So I think that even a normal day game, they're going to be there and they're going to be rowdy because they're really excited for this season, I think.
They might overtake the Cowboys.
Fans have high hopes.
Ooh, wait, Jay, did I just hear you say you think the Eagles could take over the Cowboys?
Yeah, and just why? The Cowboys lost more than they gained on the offseason. We can agree with that, right?
Yes.
But the Eagles have gained more than they lost.
I agree. That's a good point.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And
they were three games behind Dallas last season. So
they beat Dallas, I believe. I think they beat them. I want to say no, they didn't win twice, but they beat Dallas one time last year for sure.
Let me see. That sounds like to me, Jay.
That's yeah. So
the
Eagles could potentially overtake the Cowboys, but
it's
still the East.
No, they lost both games to them. Actually, they lost both games big. They lost at Dallas 41-21, and then they lost at home against Dallas on the last game of the year 51-26. But Gardner Minshew was their quarterback for that game. So.
My bad.
Yeah, you're fine. But we'll get into the NBA playoffs a little bit in these last 10 minutes, but the NFC East has this reputation of no team repeating as division winners. So it's interesting that you think Philly can overtake Dallas because that would mean the NFC East is living up to that reputation. Did you guys hear what the Dallas mayor said the other day about adding a second team in Dallas?
Yeah,
he's a clown.
Yeah, and Jerry Jones will never let that happen. Ever.
No.
Yeah, it's good wishful thinking, but that's dead.
Yeah. I didn't want to spend too long on that. When I heard that, I'm just like, yeah, that's total bullshit. Dallas will never get a second NFL team.
Shock value and clickbait.
Do you think that the Giants did enough in their offseason to at least improve from last year. I mean, obviously they had a terrible year last year. They only win 4 games? Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, they were 4-13. I think they added some really nice pieces in the draft. A lot of people think Kayvon Thibodeau is the best player in the draft overall. They got him in the 5 spot. And then at number 7, they go out and they get Evan Neal, the best offensive tackle.
They needed that. And then now they got Brian Dable, who's took over the reins there, which he's, of course, worked with Josh Allen, getting him to be more of a run, but let me throw first type of quarterback. And they're hoping he could do the same thing with their embattled current quarterback right now.
Daniel Jones.
Yeah, so hey, they can start to see some improvement in New York.
I think they'll improve this season for sure. I don't know if they'll improve enough to compete in the division. I don't think they'll be ready for that maybe 2-3 years from now.
I'm with you here.
But I definitely think they're a team that could go 500 though. Like they could be a surprise team. They could go like I don't know, like an 8 or up. I always forget there's 17 games now.
So weird too.
I'd say 8 and 9. 8 and 9 is probably a realistic like improvement for them.
So would that be good enough for a 3rd place in the division?
Shit, in the East is probably 2.
Could be good enough to win it. Sure.
Right, for real.
If Dallas, if they decline as much as a lot of people think they will, and Philly doesn't quite progress like they think they will with Jalen Hurts, like there's a chance that they could win the division.
Yeah,
that's straight up.
It's crazy to say, but it's the NFC least for a reason.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of Philly, they could potentially go home tonight.
Why don't we transition in the NBA now for the last 15 minutes here?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do there. 76ers host the Miami Heat up or down 3-2. What type of performance was that by Philadelphia in Game 5?
That was an ugly game. Ugly game.
Hair scratching, man. It's so much to dissect with that team. Where we start, James Harden. Like, where's he been at? He's went from being an MVP a few years ago to he's the 3rd option on their team that I see. I see Maxi's better than him. Embiid was better than him, but once he finds out he loses the MVP, it's like his pride and his ego just goes out the window. And the team just looks abysmal, man. And the only person really to blame is Doc Rivers, man.
So you think that, let's say Philly gets eliminated tonight, how many days later do you think Doc Rivers is shown the door?
Probably clip him tomorrow.
0. I think he's gone. Yeah.
They move fast. Like if they lose tonight, he can clip in the morning after they bring him in for a meeting.
Yeah.
I agree.
I agree.
I think they move on quickly from him if they lose.
And then the Lakers talking about they want to potentially interview him. So how is that? Like, it's too much confusion. They don't need that distraction right now. This is an elimination must-win game for them.
I put a lot of this on James Harden too, though. Like, I don't necessarily think it's all Doc Rivers being a bad coach. Like, I think there's a lot of players that just are not showing up on that team.
That's a fair argument, I think. And I agree with you to a certain extent. Like, where has Tobias Harris been for most of this series? Like, he hasn't shown up.
He got maxed out.
Like, some of their other role players, like, what do you really think Joel Embiid and James Harden can carry this?
Right.
No, absolutely not.
The role players are going to have to play much better. I mean, that's the one advantage of being at home. Role players play a lot better at home. So, they might have a chance in this game, but I do ultimately think they lose the series for sure.
Even if they luck up and win this series, they're getting smoked by whoever wins the Milwaukee-Boston series. So,
yep, I agree.
Yeah. We can talk about Phoenix, Dallas maybe later, but you brought up Milwaukee, Boston. I want to talk about that Game 5 last night.
Oh my God! I thought that was
Boston collapsed.
I cut the game off. I cut the game off. I'm like, Boston got this in the bag. It's so wet. And then I'm watching ESPN. I'm like, Milwaukee won. Yeah, I wasn't a happy camper at all.
Yeah. I watched like the final minute of that game. On the possible play that could have tied it, what the hell was Marcus Smart doing? Like, that was right off the inbound, you go for that type of shot? Are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah, it didn't make much sense.
no.
Marcus Smart wasn't smart in that decision.
Drew Holiday
Hey,
looked like the defensive player.
I see what you did there.
Yo,
But
Drew
that
Holiday
was
looked like the defensive player of the year there, not him.
yeah.
it was a lot of head scratching moves because Tatum was doing phenomenal early in the game. It's just I don't know, man. I think that if Boston was going to win it, they would have won. But I honestly think they're getting closed out in Milwaukee now because of that.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
you don't think this series is going back to Milwaukee or
Hell
I'm
no.
sorry, Boston for Game 7?
No, this is ending in Milwaukee.
Yeah, the fact that they won that game on the road was huge. You know, I don't
I agree.
I don't know if Boston can do the same on the road, but I still think it does go 7 games. I still think the Celtics have a shot to win it because that was just an all-time collapse in that fourth quarter. But you know, for 3 quarters of that game, they looked really, really good. So it's like, what team's going to show up? You just don't know. You know what I mean? They're one of those like curveballs in the postseason where like when they show up, they're like unbeatable. But they're kind of in the same way as Philly is. Like sometimes they just, you know, guys disappear in the moment.
Yeah.
Hearts ripped out.
Yeah. In those final sequences, I was saying like, okay, Milwaukee's going to expect them to go to Jason Tatum. So I think they should have gone to Jaylen Brown to try and make a play. Like, okay, we know Jason Tatum is an all-star. Maybe you consider him to be a superstar. I don't know. But like Jaylen Brown, you're supposed to be like the Robin to Jason Tatum's Batman, if you will. So like go out and show like, hey, I can make a clutch play too. I can make the big shot. Like how Chris Middleton can make that key shot when the opponent is loading up on Giannis.
Right.
And is he ruled out for the remainder of the playoffs, or is it still a chance?
I don't know if Middleton is ruled out for the remainder of the playoffs. I've heard there's a chance that if this series goes to both 7 games, he could be back for Game 7. Don't quote me on that.
This says It says he's done some on-court work as he attempts to come back from a left knee, but no timetable yet for sure.
It's probably next series.
Yeah. I think we all agree though that the winner of this Boston-Milwaukee series is going to the finals. Correct?
I said that before the series started. Yeah. Before any of these series started, I said that the winner of the Boston-Milwaukee series will be the Eastern Conference representative in the finals. So yeah, I'm sticking to that.
Yeah, that's facts.
Yeah. I think the way I see it, at least, you guys probably share the same sentiment, is that Miami is the best team in terms of record, but they're not actually the best team.
They're the 4th best remaining team in the entire playoffs, in my opinion.
In the entire okay.
Yeah. They can't beat Golden State, they can't beat Phoenix, and they can't beat Milwaukee.
Speaking of Golden State, what the heck happened to the Warriors last night?
Good Lord.
That was pathetic. That was pathetic. Like, it was at one point where it was down near 60 points, man.
And
I'm like,
so dumbfounded by what the hell happened. Like, in Game 4, the Warriors were barely able to pull that game out of their ass.
Yeah.
And then they get absolutely dismantled last night. Like, at one point, I was so confident we were getting Golden State Boston in the NBA Finals. After what I saw from both teams last night, I'm not so sure. Maybe we are on a collision course for Phoenix, Milwaukee, round 2.
They sure couldn't produce no points. And, you know, Mike Brown's been the lead coach the last 2 games. And it just seemed like they've been struggling trying to get easy baskets. And I'm not sure if this has something to do with the Mike Brown connection, or they just haven't been playing themselves lately. But that was crazy.
Memphis looked really good. They had 7 players in double figures. So like that, Golden State just was not there defensively. To give up 134 points in a playoff game is inexcusable. They got absolutely nothing out of the point guard position. I mean, Curry and Poole combined for 17 points, and they did have 7 assists between the two of them. So yeah, like those are numbers that you would want to see from one of them, not the two of them combined. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Grizzlies got a great system in place. They play like the Spurs. They always got ball movement, and they play better without Ja Morant. Like this is backed up data, and it's just showing. I feel like they're not pressured to get him the ball. Everybody knows where they need to be. They're moving the ball. Everybody's setting picks. Everybody's getting the easy shots, and they all playing team defense. Like they literally play like the Spurs. I know that the head coach is from the Spurs assistant coaches, but you see it, man.
Yeah, they distribute the ball really well. I mean, they got production up and down that lineup. Steven Adams was the only one in the starting lineup that didn't go double figures, but he had 13 rebounds. So they got production out of all 5 of their starters. And then the bench, too. They had 3 players off the bench with double figures as well.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that Ja might be out for the rest of the playoffs as a result of this injury, if I remember correctly. I'll double check on that.
I think that is the case. And still, if you are a Memphis fan, there's no reason to be discouraged. Your team is winning without him. And like I just stated, they got more of a better synergy on that court. So no reason to panic at all.
Right. But let's say
do it at home, though. Let's see if they can do it in Oakland. You know what I mean? Like it, because that's a whole different ball game. Or San Francisco, where they're at now.
Yeah, San Francisco.
Yeah, I think that the Warriors are going to play a much better game. You can't rely on them having bad games from Curry and Poole again. Yeah, I think that the Warriors can bounce back and still close the series out next game. So, but there's a lot of question marks on this Warriors team right now, and
yeah,
I don't know what to make of them.
It's so hard to know. It's so hard with this playoffs. Like they've been exciting, but there's so many question marks with every team, even Phoenix. Like, what type of Chris Paul are we gonna get? Like, are their role players gonna consistently play well? Like Cam Johnson, Cameron Payne, Jay Crowder.
They're playing weird. It's like there's no consistency at all in these playoffs from any team.
So, like, I feel like, let's say Golden State goes on to win the title. I think this would be would you say this is their first legit title? Not that they've cheated in any of their previous championships. I'm not accusing them of that.
No. I think the other rings was legit.
I do,
and I know where you're going with it about the whole Durant thing. But let's take this at a different angle because
they won one without him.
They would have won without him. And my partner on my show, Man of Leagues, as usual, he was the first one to go on record with saying this. He said that Durant is the best role player ever. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, role player? But Durant, what have he done with Brooklyn? He's not a leader, it's obvious. He's a good scorer, but he needs a team culture around him for him to perform at a higher level. And they winning those rings without him, regardless. It's like he used them to get some rings.
The reason I'm asking that is because, like, in 2015, looking back at the 2015 finals anyway, people are saying, oh, if the Cavs had Kyrie and Kevin Love for that series, they would have been back-to-back NBA champions. Hindsight, obviously, is 2020. Like, we don't know that for sure.
Yeah, I don't buy that.
I think we would have. Because you got to also understand, the Cavs was good as hell, too. And it's just that was our roadblock was going to just go to State. Because if you played any other team, we were probably going to win those games. But go to State was just a matchup issue with this, man, more than anything.
But you've heard that same argument.
I was just going to say we got 1 minute left. So if we want to do like some final thoughts about the NBA playoffs, do Do you guys want to stick with your picks of who you think's winning it all, or do you feel differently now?
I think
I'm
I
still
said
hot.
I think I said Boston, Golden State with Boston winning it. I'm gonna have to take Milwaukee now. I think Middleton comes back, and that's what makes the difference for them.
Mhm.
I think we get Milwaukee Phoenix round 2 in the finals.
I said Golden State and Milwaukee. I'm still on track for that. I just don't know how it's gonna match up, man. It's gonna be a different matchup. I
Yeah.
don't know. I honestly can't. If my heart telling me Golden State might pull it off, but I'm not betting against Greek Freak because he's carrying this team without Middleton. So you never know.
All
Yeah,
right.
I think I'm going to stick with Golden State winning it all, but I'm not confident about it at all anymore. Like, there are so many question marks, but at the end of the day, they're still the Warriors. They have so much experience on that team, and they're deep enough, and I think they could still definitely win it. I don't know if Boston or Milwaukee, who's going to come out of it, but either way, I still think that I'm going to stick with Golden State. I don't know why. I feel like this is their year to finally like win one with Durant being gone and kind of put a bow on that whole part of their history.
All right.
Feel like it's in the destiny a little bit to me, if that makes sense.
I see that. I get those vibes. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of the Sports Generals. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to Unger to the Max. Follow at Brian _Fraley on Twitter. Subscribe to Manalytics as usual on YouTube. You guys want to plug anything else before we go?
This is Cleveland.com. Go there and go to podcasts. Guarding the Corner. Our baseball podcast is we're about 9 episodes in right now. Episode 10 will be dropping in the next day or two. So
I got some goodies. Got some goodies that I'm brewing up and cooking up for you guys. Check out Manalytics as usual, official Manalytics as usual, and you guys bring your appetite with you.
All right.
Hey, before we go, we got a quick comment from Essence. He says, "Great show today, guys. I don't know if Golden State will win, but they are always a threat."
That sums up how I felt perfectly.
Yep. And
all right, guys. Well, I will see you guys next week. And yeah, have a good weekend, guys.
Go Browns.
Yep, go Browns. Can't wait for the schedule to come out.
Peace.